Hi, this is Jill Riley, and I am the Communications Assistant for the PAC Northwest Conference. And today I am just pleased to talk with Pastor Phil Rushton from Bellingham Covenant Church. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, Jill. Good to be here.
It's awesome to be able to talk to you, and you live in a beautiful part of the world. I love it up there in Bellingham. So,
We're spoiled up
um,
here.
we are talking today with Phil because he is a part of a partnership with World Relief, and I'm going to let him just kind of tell the story of how that partnership began, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it has blossomed into. So, for starters, just tell us how you began to be connected with World Relief.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so a couple of years ago, our missions director, we had a part-time missions director named Stephen Shedderly, and he just was inquiring about some opportunities to get involved in refugee resettlement work. And he got in touch with World Relief in Spokane, and he was actually exploring the possibility of going into that work full time. When he was meeting with the World Relief staff, they let him know that they'd actually singled out Bellingham as a potential site for a new office to be launched. And
Wow.
so for the next 6 months, he put a lot of his energy as our missions director into doing some groundwork and exploring the possibility of that taking place. And through the work, it just the stars kind of aligned, and it seemed like the right fit for World Relief and an exciting opportunity for us in Bellingham. The timeline got expedited. That was right when there was the fall of Kabul in Afghanistan and just that crisis, and then the Ukrainian war really expedited the need for more refugee resettlement support. So what was going to be maybe a year-long building of this new program became like a 6-month expedited process, and within a few months
Wow.
we started seeing numerous arrivals from Afghanistan, from Ukraine, from really all around the world.
So you didn't lose your missions director. He just kind of relocated office, right?
So Stephen was part-time. It was a part-time role, and he was finishing up seminary and kind of looking at his next step, and was exploring this possibility of a bivocational role of being in missions and then working with World Relief. It soon became such a big role that he transitioned off of staff, and it became a full-time director role for this office.
That's great. So in what ways has the church been able to partner with World Relief, and what kind of activities do you guys participate in together, month to month, day to day, week to week?
The wonderful thing about this opportunity is there's just a lot of plug-in points for our congregation to just be in hands-on outreach work to people. So even today, I just came down the hall. We have 15 refugees here today going through cultural orientation classes. So within 30 days of arrival, new arrivals are going through orientation, just learning the basics of navigating the various government systems, how to get bank accounts and navigate Whatcom County. And so every other month we host a 2-week cultural orientation class, and that's an opportunity for our members to act as hosts and be hospitable or provide childcare. Um, then in the summer, the last 2 summers, we've hosted a family literacy program. And so this has lasted for a few weeks, and we're able to contract with the government to have a staff role for that. And it's just an opportunity for people to learn English, and then in place of like a traditional VBS camp, we've for the last 2 years done what's called a school readiness camp. And so it's just a outreach to a number of the refugee children in elementary and middle school. And then our kids actually participate in that week. And so there's interesting opportunities for our kids to meet other children from around the world. And they just they're learning English, they're figuring out what it's like to be in school, and just being in community with people from the United States. So and that's an all hands on deck thing for our church. We have people helping teach classes and make meals and lead recreation events. And so it's been kind of a neat plug-in point. And then the
That's
last thing we're coming into Advent. Our families put together welcome kits for refugee families, for kids particularly, as our Advent mission focus. And then aside from that, there's just every once in a while there's opportunities for us to host bigger events. When we had a number of arrivals from Syria and Afghanistan, we hosted a big Eid celebration. Just that's kind of their New Year celebration. And being in a new country, we hosted a big meal and just had an opportunity to get to know our new neighbors. So.
That's great. And you mentioned to me that some of your families actually host guests as they arrive in the country and need some short-term housing.
That's right. Yeah. So when arrivals first come to Whatcom County, they usually need some transitional housing for about 2 months just to get in the system and figure out opportunities for housing. So a number of our people either have a basement suite or an extra ADU, and it's been really neat to see that we're just opening our homes in a lot of ways. So it's been another opportunity for connection.
Phenomenal. What would you say have been some of the gifts to your congregation in learning to be a part of the international community and as part of your partnership with World Relief?
Yeah, yeah. One of the gifts of hands-on missional opportunity is it can be really mutually transformative. And I think for our people, it's been really helpful to come into proximity with the human story behind these big international events. And so it's easy to um, yeah, simplify these complex issues. And I think it's just been really helpful for us to see the human story of people that have been in refugee camps in Syria. Some of them have been waiting for 10 years.
Wow.
And just the opportunity for our kids to get outside of their Western bubble and recognize what a lot of people are going through and living with. And so it has the potential, I think, to bring down some barriers that can sometimes exist in these very controversial issues around mass immigration and so on. And we begin to just see these are real people that are hurting and struggling, and that's been a real beautiful thing, I think.
Yeah. If you could pull the thread on out of the lessons that you have learned, which I'm sure have been a lot of lessons that you have learned as a pastor,
Yeah.
kind of navigating this new missions partnership, what is one thing that you would say that you've really learned that has been beneficial to you?
Yeah, one thing that I think has been helpful as a leader is to be open to interruptions from the Holy Spirit. So what's interesting about this was it wasn't like a mission project that emerged from a 5-year strategic plan. If I was gonna plan this out, I probably wouldn't have launched a refugee resettlement mission 6 months into a new pastoral call during a lockdown, but it was just one of these things that emerged. It really kind of bubbled up from the ground up. And I'm starting to learn as a leader, we've often embraced this language of casting vision, like that's the role of the leader, but I'm starting to see that part of our role is to evoke vision that's actually just emerging from what God's doing on the ground in people's lives and their passions. And so it's great to be strategic and to have plans and to think things through, but I've been learning to have enough space in our planning for the interruptions of the Spirit, because this really was something that just emerged pretty organically.
That's great. So, what are some ways that the Pac Northwest Conference can participate and support or help you in this call?
Well, I think one thing that's been neat is some of the other covenant churches around us have been involved a little bit too. So Leonard Street's Covenant Church is on in Bellingham here, and they got a team together that helped clean up and renovate one of our members' rentals to make room for a refugee family. So that's been just a real tangible thing. It was a really cool story about that. We had some translators from Ferndale that came to help with this renovation project as well. And they've been helping us welcome particularly people from Syria and Afghanistan. And they had this comment where they said, "We're so surprised that the Christians are helping. Why are you doing this?" And I just love that story. That was some of our folks, but some people from Leonard Streets. And there's just like something beautiful about the witness of like, we're called to love our neighbors. And it was flipping the script that they had maybe expected from the
Yeah.
Christian community.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I think there's World Relief Western Washington is the overarching organization that our local office is connected with, and there is an office in Kent and in Seattle area, and so that might be a neat opportunity if your church is looking for a neat way to connect. There's just so many cool plug-in points for your congregation. So
Okay, well, we'll be sure and put that contact information attached to this blog so people can both get in contact with you and get in contact with that organization. And hopefully, our conference will continue to pray or begin to pray for you and your call and ministry to missions, and we'll be able to support you in that way and maybe some other tangible ways. So, Phil, thanks so much for sharing with us about this exciting work that you're a part of. And may God bless you and give you strength and wisdom.
yeah, thanks, Jill. Appreciate the time to chat.